Hi, it's Emily again. Today I was going to be reading some children's books to you. Just a couple of my favorites from when I was a kid, and then also a couple ones that have been published a bit more recently that I think are sweet as well. The first two I'm going to read are going to be The Pig of Happiness and The Lovely Love Story, both by Edward Monkton. And they're very short and just very sweet. The next one I'm going to read is The Very Hungry Caterpillar by Eric Carle. And then I'm going to read I'm not exactly sure. I've got The Peter Rabbit Library by Beatrix Potter. So I definitely want to read The Tale of Jemima Puddleduck. But I don't know how many others I may end up reading. It just sort of depends, but that'll probably be last. I'll put the times of when I start each of the books and finish them below in the description box so you can skip ahead to whichever story you like. And it'll hopefully be more clear which books I do end up reading from Beatrix Potter. So I'm going to start with The Pig of Happiness by Edward Monkton. Alright. It says it's for Sarah. There was once a pig. He was an ordinary pig in all ways, but one thing did set him apart. This thing was his distaste for the mumbling and grumbling that is the natural way with pigs. I know, thought the pig, I shall become an extraordinary pig. From now on, I shall stand for everything that is light and beautiful and true and wonderful. I shall see the very best in everyone and the best in everything. I shall become the Pig of Happiness. See his little crazy face? So happy. And so it did come to pass. The next day, when Pig A complained about the weather, Pig of Happiness went dancing in the rain. And you can see him saying, it's raining again, always raining. But there's the Pig of Happiness. The day after that, when Pig B was rude about Pig C's bottom and all the other pigs joined in, the Pig of Happiness gave Pig C a flower and said in front of all the other pigs that he thought Pig C had a beautiful bottom, actually. They're teasing him over here. And so it continued daily. After a while, the Pig of Happiness became so happy with being happy that his happiness became too big. It had to find an escape. And so it was that it began to leak and seep from inside him into all the other pigs. now all the pigs are happy, and their happiness is beginning to show signs of leaking too. The sheep are laughing. Even the chickens are beginning to smile. The end. I think it's really sweet. Sorry, my throat was getting a little crazy there. Alright, next up is A Lovely Love Story by the same author. Sorry if you hear my cats eating in the background, by the way. This says it's for Claire. The fierce dinosaur was trapped inside his cage of ice. Although it was cold, he was happy in there. It was, after all, his cage. Then along came the lovely other dinosaur. The lovely other dinosaur melted the dinosaur's cage with kind words and loving thoughts. I like this dinosaur, thought the lovely other dinosaur. Although he is fierce, he is also tender and he is funny. He's also quite clever, though I will not tell him this for now. And here they are walking and laughing. I like this lovely other dinosaur, thought the dinosaur. She is beautiful and she is different and she smells so nice. She's also a free spirit, which is a quality I admire so much in a dinosaur. You can see them dancing. But he can be so distant and so peculiar at times, thought the lovely other dinosaur. He's also overly fond of things. Are all dinosaurs overly fond of things? He's playing with a little remote control car. But her mind skips from here to there so quickly, thought the dinosaur. She's also uncommonly keen on shopping. Are all lovely other dinosaurs so uncommonly keen on shopping? I will forgive his peculiarity and his concern for things, thought the lovely other dinosaur, for they are part of what makes him a richly charactered individual. I'll forgive her skipping mind and her fondness for shopping, thought the dinosaur, for she fills her life with beautiful thoughts and wonderful surprises. Besides, I am not unkeen on shopping either. Now the dinosaur and the lovely other dinosaur are old. Look at them. Together they stand on the hill telling each other stories and feeling the warmth of the sun on their backs. And that, my friends, is how it is with love. Let us all be dinosaurs and lovely other dinosaurs together. For the sun is warm and the world is a beautiful place. The end. I apologize. I think I'm getting a cold. But anyway, that was a really sweet story. They both are. But now it's time for probably my favorite, The Very Hungry Caterpillar by Eric Carle. Now this one has a lot of pictures, so. It says, for my sister Krista. In the light of the moon, a little egg lay on a leaf. One Sunday morning, the warm sun came up, and pop, out of the egg came a tiny and very hungry caterpillar. He started to look for some food. On Monday, he ate through one apple, but he was still hungry. On Tuesday, he ate through 2 pears, but he was still hungry. On Wednesday, he ate through 3 plums, but he was still hungry. On Thursday, he ate through 4 strawberries, but he was still hungry. On Friday, he ate through 5 oranges, but he was still hungry. On Saturday, he ate through 1 piece of chocolate cake, 1 ice cream cone, 1 pickle, 1 slice of Swiss cheese, 1 salami, 1 lollipop, 1 piece of cherry pie, 1 sausage, 1 cupcake, and a slice of watermelon. That night he had a stomachache. The next day was Sunday again. The caterpillar ate through 1 nice green leaf, and after that he felt much better. Now he wasn't hungry anymore, and he wasn't a little caterpillar anymore. He was a big fat caterpillar. Cute little face. He built a small house called a cocoon around himself. He stayed inside for more than 2 weeks. He then nibbled a hole in the cocoon, pushed his way out, and he was a beautiful butterfly. That's the end. It's really simple, but I like the illustrations. So that was the end of that. Time for the Tale of Jemima Puddleduck by Beatrix Potter. The Tale of Jemima Puddleduck, a five-minute tale for Ralph and Betsy. What a funny sight it is to see a brood of ducklings with a hen. Listen to the story of Jemima Puddleduck, who was annoyed because the farmer's wife would not let her hatch her own eggs. Her sister-in-law, Mrs. Rebecca Puddleduck, was perfectly willing to leave the hatching to someone else. I have not the patience to sit on a nest for 28 days, and no more have you, Jemima. You would let them go cold, you know you would. I wish to hatch all my own eggs. I will hatch them all by myself, quacked Jemima Puddleduck. She tried to hide her eggs, but they were always found and carried off. Jemima Puddleduck became quite desperate. She determined to make a nest right away from the farm. She set off on a fine spring afternoon along the cart road that leads over the hill. She was wearing a shawl and a poke bonnet. When she reached the top of the hill, she saw a wood in the distance. She thought it looked like a safe, quiet spot. Jemima Puddleduck was not much in the habit of flying. She ran downhill a few yards, flapping her shawl, and then she jumped off into the air. You can see her trying to fly. She flew beautifully when she had got a good start. She skimmed along over treetops until she saw an open place in the middle of the wood where the trees and brushwood had been cleared. Jemima alighted rather heavily and began to waddle about in search of a convenient dry nesting place. She rather fancied a tree stump amongst some tall foxgloves. But, seated upon the stump, she was startled to find an elegantly dressed gentleman reading a newspaper. He had black prick ears and sandy-colored whiskers. "Quack?" said Jemima Puddleduck, with her head and her bonnet on one side. "Quack?" You can see just the ears. The gentleman raised his eyes above his newspaper and looked curiously at Jemima. "Madam, have you lost your way?" said he. He had a long bushy tail, which he was sitting upon, as the stump was somewhat damp. Jemima thought him mighty civil and handsome. She explained that she had not lost her way, but that she was trying to find a convenient dry nesting place. "Ah, is that so? Indeed," said the gentleman with sandy whiskers, looking curiously at Jemima. He folded up the newspaper and put it in his coat-tail pocket. Jemima complained of the superfluous hen. "Indeed, how interesting. I wish I could meet with that fowl. I would teach it to mind its own business." "But as to a nest, there is no difficulty. I have a sackful of feathers in my woodshed. No, dear madam, you will be in nobody's way. We may sit there as long as you like," said the bushy-tailed gentleman. He led the way to a very retired, dismal-looking house among the foxgloves. It was built of broken twigs and turf, and on top of another by way of a chimney. This is my summer residence. You would not find my winter house, so convenient, said the hospitable gentleman. There was a tumble-down shed at the back of the house made of old soap boxes. The gentleman opened the door and showed Jemima in. The shed was almost quite full of feathers. It was almost suffocating, but it was comfortable and very soft. Jemima Puddleduck was rather surprised to find a vast quantity of feathers, but it was very comfortable, and she made a nest without any trouble at all. When she came out, the sandy-whiskered gentleman was sitting on a log and reading the newspaper. At least he had it spread out, but he was looking over the top of it. He was so polite that he seemed almost sorry to let Jemima go home for the night. He promised to take great care of her nest until she came back again next day. He said he loved eggs and ducklings. He should be proud to see a fine nestful in his woodshed. Jemima Puddleduck came out every afternoon. She laid 9 eggs in the nest. They were greeny white and very large. The foxy gentleman admired them immensely. He used to turn them over and count them when Jemima was not there. At last, Jemima told him that she intended to begin to sit the next day, and I will bring a bag of corn with me so that I need never leave my nest until the eggs are hatched. They might catch cold, said the conscientious Jemima. Madam, I beg you not to trouble yourself with a bag. I will provide oats, but before you commence your tedious sitting, I intend to give you a treat. Let us have a dinner party all to ourselves. May I ask you to bring up some herbs from the farm garden to make a savory omelette? Sage and thyme and mint and 2 onions and some parsley? I'll provide lard for the stuff. Lard for the omelette, said the hospitable gentleman with sandy whiskers. Jemima Puddleduck was a simpleton. Not even the mention of sage and onions made her suspicious. She went round the farm garden nibbling off snippets of all the different sorts of herbs that are used for stuffing roast duck. And she waddled into the kitchen and got 2 onions out of a basket. The collie dog kept met her coming out, saying, "What are you doing with those onions?" "Where do you go every afternoon by yourself, Jemima?" Jemima was rather in awe of the collie. She told him the whole story. The collie listened with his wise head on one side. He grinned when she described the polite gentleman with sandy whiskers. He asked several questions about the wood and the exact position of the house and shed. Then he went out and trotted down the village. He went to look for 2 foxhound puppies who were out at walk with the butcher. Jemima Puddleduck went up the cart road for the last time on a sunny afternoon. She was rather burdened with bunches of herbs and 2 onions in a bag. She flew over the wood and alighted opposite the house of the bushy, long-tailed gentleman. He was sitting on a log. He sniffed the air and kept glancing uneasily around the wood. When Jemima alighted, he quite jumped. "Come into the house as soon as you have looked at your eggs. Give me the herbs for the omelette. Be sharp." He was rather abrupt. Jemima had never heard him speak like that. She felt surprised and uncomfortable. While she was inside, she heard pattering feet around the back of the shed. Someone with a black nose sniffed at the bottom of the door and then locked it. Jemima became much alarmed. A moment afterwards, there was the most awful noises. Barking, baying, growls and howls, squealing and groans, and nothing more was ever seen of that foxy-whiskered gentleman. Presently, Cap opened the door of the shed and let out Jemima Puddleduck. Unfortunately, the puppies rushed in and gobbled up all the eggs before he could stop them. He had a bite on his ear, and both the puppies were limping. Jemima Puddleduck was escorted home in tears on account of those eggs. She laid some more in June, and she was permitted to keep them herself, but only 4 of them hatched. Jemima Puddleduck said it was because of her nerves, but she'd always been a bad sitter. It's the end. I'm probably finished reading for today just because my throat is so sore. But maybe I'll read a few more of these next time. If anybody requests them, I'll do that. So thank you. Sleep well.